Back with you now on the Newsfeed Late Night. The South African Federation of Trade Unions is calling on every worker in the country to observe a stay away from work on the 24th of February 2021 as it embarks on a nationwide strike to address socio-economic issues affecting South Africa. Joining me now to talk about this is SAFTU General Secretary Zwelinzima Mavavi. Mavavi, good evening and thank you very much for your time today. The question of economic recovery, I suppose, at the heart of why you will be marching, but at the heart of the many challenges that are facing us in the country right now. The president has spoken about plans of what will happen. There have been investment summits with commitments or pledges, however way you want to look at it, amounting to 700 billion. They are talking of Eskom being revived to its former glory. They are talking of possibly cutting off the analog system and all the issues that you know about. What are the fault lines? What is wrong with this plan?
The fault lines is that they are nice, beautiful rewording of words of the same things we have shared over and over again. And those things have only meant one thing for the workers and the poor. The crisis of poverty has worsened. The crisis of unemployment and inequalities has worsened. Despite all of these beautiful speeches, they make no difference because the government refuses to accept that what they have been doing for the past 25 years simply regenerate unemployment, poverty, inequalities. They are refusing to accept that the fault lines in South Africa is what we inherited from the colonial and apartheid era. The fourth line is that this economy was designed purposefully to regenerate poverty, unemployment, and inequalities amongst our people, in particular, to make Black people the face of poverty, unemployment, and inequalities.
Somebody would say, well, you're starting to sound like a stuck record. You're saying these things over and over again. These are the issues that you have been raising. You're dealing with peculiar instances right now, for example, of a COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we've been here even before the COVID-19, so we won't use that as an excuse for the kind of destruction that we've seen of our economy. But the question is, what is needed right now, many would say, is a social compact. And I don't know what is your understanding of what that social compact really means.
I'm happy that, you recognize that we are consistent, that we are raising the same issues over and over, and that we are being ignored by the powers that be in society. So let me move to answer your question. What this economy needs at this particular moment is a serious stimulus package. And in the past, we have already said where money will be drawn. We are a very rich country. We are rated number 5th in the world by the Citibank and by the IMF. The problem we have is that 10% of our population occupies or have wealth that is equal to 90% of the wealth of the country. That's the problem. So we're saying that without a serious stimulus package to cushion the firms that are in crisis as we speak, in tourism, in other parts of the economy, we are going to continue to drown. And secondly, we say you cannot have a new strategy of addressing the current lump in the economy without ensuring that the poor is covered. Yeah. That is a basic income grant, and that there is a specific support for children, for women, for the aged, so that they can cope with the circumstances of a devastating coronavirus.
A country with 62%, maybe it's even higher now in 2019, debt to GDP, can hardly be classified as a rich country. I mean, when you're saying we are a rich country, what do you mean?
It depends on the quality of your borrowing. If you're going to borrow for consumption and not for putting money in the productive sectors of the economy, if you're going to borrow to feed that massive elephant of the cabinet, which have no job, frankly, but consuming the resources of the country through planes between Cape Town and Pretoria, then you will be bequeathing to the next generation a crisis of a debt that is not sustainable. This country, if you look at its economic history, at some point had a debt to GDP ratio of 113%. The nationalists or the racists borrowed money from the pension and provident fund and from everywhere, but they used that money to build Eskom, Telkom, Dinel, Petro SA, SAA, SABC. And out of that, that economy saw the most longest sustained economic growth. So there's no problem of a debt. It depends on the quality of the debt in terms of what you're going to be doing with that money.
What examples can we draw from where, I mean, I know in the world close to 12 trillion of discretionary fiscal support has been provided during this global pandemic. I mean, what examples are we drawing from here as far as this suggestion of a stimulus, a massive stimulus package?
Look, even at the men considered conservative in every way who have just been elected in the United States, Joe Biden, he have put together a plan that says, I need a 1.9 trillion US dollars so that I can put a stimulus package that will amount to a 34,000 rands, 400 rands in equivalent to South Africa's rand on the table for anybody who's earning a particular or below a particular amount of money in the United States of America. That's in addition to interventions to ensuring that the firms are sustained and do not collapse. In our country, where already the population or the rate of poverty in the population is sitting at 70%, where we are already the most unequal society, where already before the COVID, we were sitting with unemployment at #1 spot when it comes to industrializing world. We put together a stimulus package of a 3.4% of the GDP or 50 billion rand. But we misled the country, as the president has been saying, into believing that there was a 500 billion rand. There was no 500 billion rand stimulus package. What the government did was to rob elements of other budget in order to produce money that it will need, for example, to give 200 billion rands to private firms. There is no stimulus package in South Africa. There was never a stimulus package. And that's why we're going on a strike next week, amongst other things, to demand that the government put on the table a meaningful stimulus package to help us deal with the immediate crisis of a COVID.
Yeah. What would a strain of a higher debt mean for a already struggling South Africa? I mean, the problem with us is that we'll borrow money and chow it, or borrow it for consumption. It's not really, I mean, to build factories or to do anything like that. We'll have to build it to really spend on social grants and other things like that.
Or steal it.
Or steal it.
Like we saw in the PPEs, and that we're now uncertain about what is going to happen eventually to the fiasco of vaccines that are coming and not coming, wrong dated, expiry date wrong, absolute chaotic way of managing a crisis by the government. What we're asking for is this, that Chief, we need the resources. We need a stimulus package. We need to redesign and overhaul the economy of South Africa, and we need to end this phenomenon where our economy is still based on extraction of our mineral resources for them to go create jobs elsewhere in the world. We need to ensure that the economy is overhauled such that at the center of its activity is about meeting the basic needs of the workers and the poor in our societies. That's what we need in summary. But we don't have a political will. Our guys are stuck to the neoliberalism. the 24th of February is still going to be about pouncing on the living standards of the poor through austerity programs that are going to see public servants being made the scapegoats, that are going to see the working class being made to be the people who are going to make the biggest contribution to a crisis that the workers have not contributed in making.
SAFTU Secretary General Zulinzi Mavavi, I appreciate your time and thank you for that update with us here tonight on the Newsfeed Late Night. Up next.